Hello and welcome to Sutro Sidetalk, episode 197. I'm your host, Kamran Shushtar, and with me is
James Selig with new glasses that apparently reflect my computer screen a lot worse than I thought. At least, so it looks like on Zoom. So hopefully that's not annoying.
there you go. Yeah, everyone's watching it like
Yeah, it's like, what is going on?
they're also probably like, what the fuck is going on? It's been literally months. I think this
Yeah,
is
we
the
took
longest.
a little bit longer of a break than we thought.
Yeah. This is the longest time I think we had a gap in everything since like 2019 or 2018, like right before COVID. We had a very long gap that was like 2 to 3 months, I think. I can't remember why, but then like COVID hit, and that's when we started getting like full on weekly. We're like
Yeah,
knocking things out nonstop. um but yeah, we're here, we're back, kind of, a little bit. There's a lot to explain. I guess first off, this is Suture Side Talk. What we do, we talk what we watch and play, pretty much. And we are inching closer and closer, ever so slowly, to our 200th episode, which, by now we should have already done.
yeah,
Everything, like, we should already have finished it by now and everything else. But a lot of things have been happening. A lot of things are happening outside of the show, in the show, sort of. There's a lot to explain. Uh, Besides explaining what the show is, which we've done now, because it's been also forever. I'm like trying to make sure I remember how
yeah.
everything goes to. I'm like, is this what I say?
What's the usual intro?
Yeah. The other thing is this episode is Barbenheimer. Very, very, very late, but we're doing it. I was considering skipping it, but you wanted to continue with it. We decided to
Yeah,
scrap our other planned episodes because they were also outdated. But because this is Barbenheimer, we'll just do this one and then probably
yeah.
move
I
on to the
figured even though
others.
it's like a little bit late to the game, it was like such a cultural phenomenon that it still like would be worthwhile to do a Barbenheimer episode.
Yeah.
Plus, we
And
got
just
super lucky. We got to see Barbie in like Dolby, which we thought it was gonna be like just gone because
it left and came back.
yeah. Oh yeah, TMNT came out, and I guess that wasn't nearly as popular as Barbie was. So they
Or
were just like,
Oppenheimer.
bring it back.
Yeah. So yeah. So we're doing Barbenheimer. We originally had plans to do like TMNT and also like Iki Island for Ghost of Tsushima, but for now, like if we do Iki Island, it's not going to be here. And if we're not doing TMNT anymore, just because that's way too old as well. Even though it came out after these two, it's like it's not at. It was good, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
phenomenal, big like
I had a
internet
lot of fun watching it. I
sensation.
saw it 2 times in theater, but yeah, like it's been a while. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess what to talk about first. Should we talk about the show first or the stuff outside of the show in real life first?
Let's do the show stuff first.
Okay. So the show's ending.
we're
Yeah. Yeah.
we're gonna annoy the shit out of you and not get to 200.
Yeah, we're gonna the show is ending at 200. So 200 is going to be our final episode. It isn't the end of our shows. We decided to go in a different direction. So this is a long time coming. I was trying to figure out, like, is everything the way I want it to be for this show right now? We have basically like four different mediums practically in one show. It's like we have movies, we have TV, we have anime, we have gaming in one show. And it's just like, okay, that could be a little overwhelming and kind of hard to get a specific audience to watch that. It's
Makes it
not
so
like,
like every episode's like an hour and a half to 2 hours long.
yeah. And it's not like Suture Sidewatch where that was specific to like a type of film. And it's not like Cut of Steel where that was specific to just DC. So those had like full on purposes, up to it, down to it. That was just its own fucking off the rails shit. Uh, and I was trying to figure out like, well, what do I want to do with this? And we were discussing it, and I'm like, do we even want to consider maybe ending everything altogether? And that was a consideration, but we decided not to do that. And then I'm not saying that might happen now later on, but I'm like, depending on how things go, which I'll explain afterwards, there is a chance like we'll have less and less, but it really all depends. The plan right now is, which I haven't had time to even work on it, is we're gonna pretty much reboot the show in like multiple different directions. So probably if everything goes the way I'd like it to, and I have enough time to go through it, it would basically be like the start of 2024. January will be rebooting, and instead of Sutro Side Talk, we'll probably shelve Sutro Side Talk. Sutro Side Watch will be kind of like taking the flagship stance for the most part, and it's being reworked. So if you guys know, like previously, we went through like almost, I'd say a year and a half. Like the second year kind of fell apart, but it was like Brandon Blocksdorf and I doing Suture Side Watch, and we talked specific films. Like each month was a theme, and I decided to reboot it. And I told him like, hey, I'm changing the direction of the show, and what's going to happen now is James and I are going to head up Suture Side Watch, and instead that's going to be our new like what we watch show. And I'd like to do like older movies and stuff, but for now we're going to try to just keep up with what's currently coming out. And the way Suture Side Watch is going to work is it'll be film and television specifically, just because we don't want it too wide, so we're cutting out anime. So we're just not covering anime anymore. It's just gonna be easier that way. So it's just gonna be film and television in Suture Side Watch, and that's it. We'll probably do this show, and it will be usually like, one show or one movie per episode, and the goal is to do it twice a month. And then Cut of Steel will also be its own show still, but also the goal with these is they're not just like, you get the Suture Side Talk channel and you subscribe to it on whatever platform you're listening to, and then like all the shows appear there. That's why it's harder to find certain things, because like you want that one show, and it's like in a genre that's way too broad. So what I'm going to try to do, which it's going to cost more money, is Suture Side Watch will have its own channel. So you just look for Suture Side Watch specifically. Cut of Steel will have its own channel. You'll get that one specifically because it's relaunching too. We're probably going to relaunch it like starting over, but with all the old episodes. So like I'm going to probably kind of pad it out and put a few episodes in the beginning, and then kind of like weekly release or a little bit longer, depending on how long we want to take it for. And I know it's like, oh my God, I'm really listening to the old stuff, but like, it's just easier that way, and it'll at least give us a chance to like get everything else ready to go. So if we do launch any of those before 2024, it'll probably be Cut of Steel, just to like start getting those older episodes out, because they're already done. And all I have to do is just pretty much like promo them and be like, hey, look, these are out again, and that kind of thing. And it'll be available and whatnot. So that'll still be based on DC stuff. That'll be monthly. And the goal is to like, we're going to still do weekly stuff. It's just going to be different shows. So like the goal is like I said, Suture Side Watch twice a month. Cut of Steel will be one of those other weeks. And then the fourth week will be a new show called Suture Side Play, if this works out. And the way Suture Side Play will work is it is a pretty much what we play show. And it'll be like, we'll talk one or two games every month that we're playing. It depends. It's going to be like, oh, are we playing the same game? We can talk about that. Or if we are both playing two separate games, it'll be easier just to throw both on there and talk about both of them in that one episode, that kind of thing. It'll usually be games we're pretty much done with, or at least if I'm done with it, I'm going to talk about it. James, I don't know, because he likes to.
I never finished anything.
Game to game. Yeah.
Like, I'm playing Starfield now, and I feel like that's going to take me like fucking forever. And there's too many games right now. I'm not finishing anything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get through Tears of the Kingdom because I'm closest to that.
I actually haven't been playing anything at all. I just haven't had time. It's been really difficult.
No. And there's a bunch of shows and shit to watch too. So it's like, I was literally joking with my coworkers the other day. It's like, there's too much shit to do. I haven't read a book in a year.
I haven't read a book. I don't even want to say when the last time I read a book. Yeah. But I just keep bringing it on trips and I never touch it. And I'm like,
my poor Kindle's like, feed me.
Well, I got rid of
mine. Electricity. I'm dying.
I never used my. I had mine for years and never. I was like, fuck, I never
Uh,
used this thing because I read physical books and I was like, I'm just not going to use this. But yeah, so that's the plan is to have those three shows. So side play is monthly, cut of steel is monthly, side watch is every other week, pretty much. And if everything works well, we'd launch that at the start of 2024. And in the meantime, like the rest of this year, we're trying to like wrap up Sutro Sidetalk. And because actually it's not, we're not able to do weekly anymore. We're just not. I've been traveling a lot. And I mean, like, I was gone for 2 weeks and I'm about to be gone for 2 weeks again starting Tuesday. Right now it's Sunday.
yeah.
Uh, so I haven't even had time to be here and I can't really take all my equipment with me and record
And
it
I
on
don't
like
think
a
you want to be
laptop.
like doing Zoom like episodes on our phones.
Yeah, no, no. So our next episode is probably not going to come until like, I don't even know if we're lucky. I'm not even joking. If we're lucky, October, because I'm
Yeah,
coming.
maybe next month.
Yeah. It'll be October and November, and then we'll have two more episodes basically for sure in November and December. Um,
Maybe I'll play another Resident Evil game and talk about that again.
God,
Seems
no,
to be
bro.
a running theme for the last few years.
But most likely, the final three episodes after this are going to be like Ahsoka, The Witcher. And when I say The Witcher, like, sorry, there's like a fly in here. It's killing me.
Yeah.
Uh,
The new season of the show that I keep forgetting even exists.
yeah, and if we have time within it, like, we're gonna try to talk about like the Blood Origin show and, um, what's it called? The
I know I watched the
Wolf.
animated show. I haven't watched the movie that like
Yeah,
almost
Nightmare of the
no one
Wolf.
seemed to like.
That's the animated movie called.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the animated movie with Nightmare of the Wolf. So we'll talk about those three things, um, and we'll see which one we'll do first. Between those two, like I said, like we have, it's gonna be a little bit of time, but those two, and then the final episode, I'm not sure what we'll do yet. If by some miracle we both finished Spider-Man 2 when that comes out, we could talk about that as the final
Yeah. It
episode.
doesn't sound like it's too long.
Yeah,
So maybe.
it just depends if we both finish it, then yes. If not,
Yeah.
we'll see what else. Because there's still plenty of other shows and other crap or whatever. But
Yeah. Spider-Man's probably gonna be one of those games where like I drop literally everything and I just play that every day after work.
yeah. And then depending on how things go too, I've been wanting to really try to monetize the show, just because I'd like it to. I'm not trying to make a profit. I'm literally trying to not lose money.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
mean it'd be cool if we set up a Patreon and it at least pays for itself. That would be
yeah,
nice.
the goal is literally just to break even. So if we're doing this, we're at least not losing anything doing it
Yeah.
because it's like, everything from the license for Pro Tools cost, which is what I use to edit. Zoom costs money. Audacity costs money. I mean, not Audacity. Podbean, they did, where the show gets distributed. Not to mention, if I'm doing multiple channels, it's going to cost like 3 times the amount. So
Yeah.
it's going to be even more expensive. So the goal is to do Patreon if we can, and also ads in non-Patreon shows. So we'll see how it goes. I'm still trying to figure out the tiers. I think they'll be pretty fair. I mean, like, it just depends on how much you want to throw down. But like, I'd say like the highest thing is going to be like $20, and I'm honestly going into it thinking no one's going to pick the $20 tier. Like, I don't think anyone would do that. I'm going in thinking people will
Maybe
take
one
like
day, but I don't think
maybe
right
ten
off the
dollars or
bat.
less or something.
Yeah.
But we'll just see how it goes. And we'll explain tiers probably when I have more of an idea of it, if it's going to happen for sure. Because the only issue with Patreon is it comes with more of a consistency, and I can't always promise we're going to be as consistent as I'd like us to be. I think we could still try, and I'd like to do bonus shows for Patreon exclusive, like, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I have an idea of literally 3 new shows just for Patreon that would basically be, each one would be like a quarterly show, and they rotate like each month. So one month, every 3 months, it's going to be one of those 3 shows inside. So month 1 of 3 is like show A. Month 2 of this area is show B, and then month 3 is show C, and that kind of thing. So you'd get like each show 4 times a year out of those 3 shows. But we'll just see how it goes. That's at least the plan. And this all takes time, which is why I'm like, 2024 is when we're gonna have to do it. Otherwise, like right now, it's just kind of crazy. And I think, is there anything else we wanted to talk about for the show, James? I can't remember if
No, that
there's.
sounded about it. Like, Patreon splitting up our show into like individual shows. Um, that seemed like the most important parts.
Yeah. Okay. And the goal is like it's pretty much me and like it'll still be the two of us for all these shows. I think depending on which ones we might have guests on, depending on
Yeah.
like if it matches, but we're not like I don't think we're gonna go out of our way like crazy where I'm trying to search for guests anymore. It's just gonna be like, hey, it's us. If you like us, cool. If you don't, well,
Yeah.
you don't have to be here. Don't waste your time. Um, but as for what's going on in real life, James, if you want to start, because mine is longer than yours for sure.
Yeah. Now mine's just kind of like same business as usual. Just been super busy at work, trying to keep up with like my gym schedule and stuff, but like haven't been super consistent recently. But yeah, same old for the most
Okay.
part.
So for me, things have been pretty hectic for the most part. Like I'll say right now, I don't even know if I told you guys, I've been substitute teaching since April, I guess.
Yeah, like right before the end of last school year, I think.
Yeah, and I have been at like the school I used to go to since I was a kid, and that's why I kind of like I stuck with it for a while. And the whole thing with that was I planned on doing it until I got a job closer to my career. And I was this new school year started. I was like the middle school PE teacher, and it was a good time. I enjoyed time with like depending on which class of kids it was. They know who they are, who
Yeah.
the upstarts. But I had a good time with it. I really did enjoy it, and my last day for it, at least for the time being, if not forever. I don't really know. Most likely for the time being, or most likely forever. Sorry. It was this past Friday. Today is once again Sunday, October 1st. It is literally the first day of October right now when we're recording this. But I'm done with that job because I'm switching jobs. I got a job more in line with my career. I can't say, or I don't want to say, I guess I could say, I don't want to say what it is yet, just because I want to see how it goes first with everything. All I will say is like, at least for now, like things have been busy because with school, it changed my entire sleep schedule, like being a teacher. So waking up early, going to sleep early, and everything else like that. Weekends became much more coveted, and because of that, I got
Yeah.
a lot more busy, and with that too, like I just had no motivation to record. I was just like, it's too much. I'm just trying to get what I can done in this weekend. I don't want to add more to it. And that's honestly the long story short of it. And then like pretty much like the last 2 weeks or so, I was in Seattle for a wedding. I was in Portland for Rose City Comic Con. So I was in like Washington and Oregon for the most part. This Tuesday, I'm flying out for this new job to Florida, to Orlando. And I'll be there from the 3rd through the 14th. So that's why we can't record for a lot of October. And then I'll be back for a little bit and then gone again like the 25th of October through like November 3rd or 2nd or something. I think November 3rd, just going on a different trip to like SoCal. So that's why everything is just kind of crazy. I'm traveling a lot, whether it's for business or pleasure. Uh, and that's why the show's like, okay, we have one episode coming out in the beginning of October. If we can get a second episode in mid-October, that'll be cool. Otherwise, 2 to 3 episodes throughout November and December. The other thing is there is a chance I might have to move. And with that, that's going to take also a lot of time and figuring things out, which means I won't have any time for this show during that time when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes too. And yeah, that's why pretty much everything's busy for me. Once I like am more settled in and things seem much more like concrete, everything's for sure and everything else, then I'll be like, oh, I'm a blah 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 on at blah blah blah. And I can at least maybe say that a little bit or something. We'll see.
Yeah.
Or I might
You don't
never
want to
act.
like say
Yeah.
anything that might like rock the boat or anything.
Or I just like be like, I'm never saying what I am. Never mind. Just, you'll never know.
This becomes like a running joke in the shows.
Yeah. I mean, if I guess if Scott Bromley could say he works at Lucasfilm when he's doing the comedy button, I should be able to say what I'm doing. It's
That's
like,
fair.
'cause
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be like, I mean, everything we say here is fine, but it's just, what if someone's just like, fuck you, and it's like screws me over, and I'm like, I lost the job. But I highly
Yeah.
doubt that would happen. But like, yeah. So uh that's why everything's kind of crazy and everything else. But also, depending on how this job, here's the thing, depending on how busy this job keeps me and how much time how much time I have to put into it, what's going on over there when it's happening, will determine how many shows we're going to do, how, if like what's going to happen with the Patreon with ads in the show, and the durate, like the consistency of the shows, as well as just like um is it going to be weekly in terms of like the shows rotating through and everything else.
Yeah.
So we won't know until I'm like more settled into that kind of thing. Until
Yeah.
then, like it's just kind of like, all right, well, we'll see how this all goes.
Yeah. We'll play it by ear and see like how both our schedules line up.
Yeah. But I think that's pretty much everything.
All
Otherwise,
right.
like it's just been crazy. Like everything I have is breaking. Whether it's dress shoes, regular shoes, I have to buy like literally I have to buy new dress shoes, running shoes / workout shoes, casual, just like shoes I'm gonna wear to like anything on in general. I need like multiple pairs. Um, it's actually kind of crazy how everything's breaking. Among other things too, but it's just a lot of last minute stuff I'm doing right now. We're lucky we're able to record, honestly, today. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
We planned to do it yesterday, but I had like a wicked headache, so I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
Give me one more day.
But I think that's everything. I hope you guys got all the information you needed out of that. And whoever's wanted to listen, because I don't really know, it's like, compared to when there's a giant gap, people may have unsubscribed. People don't know what's going on.
If
I
it's
will
anything like me, I never unsubscribe from shit, and just eventually I'll get another episode and be like, oh yeah, that show.
yeah, it's like, oh my god, it reappeared. Holy shit. I will say, like, I'll try to make it as visible as possible. Like, I won't take down the Sutro Sidetalk channel until these other shows have safely launched. So I can at least say, like, hey, these are the shows. In the show notes, you can see the names of them. You'll be able to find them all. And that way you can be directed to them. Because obviously once we have 3 new shows, we have to rebuild everything from the ground up again.
Yeah.
And with the Patreon, you have to rebuild it build that from the ground up. So everything has to be built from the ground up. So that's what's going to be pretty crazy about it all, and probably a little hectic. But I know so many other companies probably do like multiple shows and everything else, like look kind of funny and whatnot. Even though we're not really a company, it's like
Yeah.
2 guys.
Just 2 guys having fun talking about stuff they care about.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all of it. And I guess with that said, we can just get into our Barbenheimer double feature that we wanted to talk
Yeah.
about, starting with Oppenheimer. And if you'd like, since I've been
Saw it at
talking this
like
whole
8 in the
time.
morning.
Oh yeah, let's explain that first. So Oppenheimer was a not fun time to try to get tickets for.
Like I've
Every
never
time,
seen a movie like with this much demand for tickets.
yeah. And the reason also, I mean, for us, because it was so hard, like you could probably go into the theater and see it. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
that's fair.
But we were trying to watch it in IMAX, which is what everyone
Yeah.
else was trying to do. So because of that, every single time I kept checking for like the week of or something, it'd be like sold out. And I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on here? And so finally I just said, screw it. And I looked, and we have the Metreon here, which has like one of the best IMAX theaters in the country.
Like one of
And
the
so,
few like true IMAX
yeah,
screens in the Bay Area.
it's not like one of those like fake IMAX. Like it's like, oh, we
Yeah.
just converted the theater in IMAX. It's like, no, this is like the one that could do every single thing you can do on an IMAX theater kind of
Yeah.
thing.
The
And it's
actual
just,
like the correct aspect ratio screen and everything.
yeah, it's like we have another theater that has like a built-in one, and it's like not that big. And then you go into the Metreon and you're like,
Yeah.
there's literally a giant size difference with these
You're literally
theaters.
just like, how do they call the other one IMAX? It's not even the same thing.
It's kind of crazy how that works. But
Yeah.
I kept looking, and I finally found it. the one showtime we could go to that wasn't sold out or didn't have only front row seats to choose from in that IMAX theater
Which is
because
like you never want to see
I don't want to get
a movie
exploded,
in the first row of that theater.
especially
It'd be
one with
bad.
nuclear bombs being like I'm
Yeah.
just like nah. The memes for that too is hilarious. Where it's just like the one guy in front just turned into a
He's just
skeleton.
dead.
Yeah, just gone. Uh, I found one showtime on a Saturday at 8:15 a.m. That was it. And we got
Yeah.
like good seats for that. And or like pretty good seats. It wasn't like the best seats. We could like it was still like we got it before it sold out was the
It was
kind of thing.
still
We are lucky we
closer to the
got it.
screen than I'd like, but it was like definitely not the worst experience I've ever had in an IMAX.
Yeah. So we did it. And I'm like, cool, awesome. That means we have to get up at like 6 something and go watch this movie
Yeah. Because they
at
don't do
8:15 in the morning on a
previews for
Saturday.
that movie, or they weren't.
Yeah, they were like, it pretty much starts promptly at 8:15.
Yeah.
Zero previews. You're just getting in there. So we're like rushing in. Um, it was insane. And so like for Barbie, we were trying to get some good tickets for it. And it was like we wanted it was in Dolby Cinema. It's like cool. Like there was no chance Barbie would get IMAX. So it's like Barbie's in Dolby Cinema, Oppenheimer's in IMAX. It kind of like works out perfectly for them both. And Barbie like went out for a second and TMNT went in. And I'm like, damn it. All right. And then it went out and Barbie went back in. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah,
perfect.
perfect.
Got it. And there's like a 2-hour gap in between the movies that gives us enough time to one, eat food. Because we're gonna be starving
Yeah.
after Oppenheimer because we barely had time to get in there without
Do that
like we couldn't
movie.
even buy food really
Yeah,
to
we
get in there.
literally got there with like 2 minutes to spare, and I just like
Yeah.
ran into the bathroom and like ran into the theater.
So we can get food and also we can kind of decompress after watching a movie about making nuclear bombs and like communism scares and all this other crap, and
Yeah.
then switch to a completely different movie that's like, oh my God, it's Barbie. So it's like, okay, yeah, 2 hours is a good amount of time to just kind of like, we need it. We really need 2 hours. Otherwise, if we go in back to back, who knows how we're just gonna be like,
Just like emotional whiplash without like resetting our brains a little.
yeah, it's like, aren't you having fun at the Barbie movie? And you're just like, yeah, so
Man, yeah, sure. Humanity's terrible though.
yeah.
Uh,
So we saw Oppenheimer. Oh, when we were watching it, in like the first 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm not too sure. There was a guy next to me. I'm like, James is sitting on the left side. I'm sitting on the right side. Guy right of me is like nonstop shaking his leg in the beginning. And it's like 8:15 in the morning. This man's shaking his leg. I'm feeling the whole thing vibrate. And I'm just like, he's not gonna do this whole movie. I won't deal with this, you know? And then he proceeds, packed IMAX theater, 8:15 in the morning, pulls out his phone.
I saw that too, and I was like, what the
Brightness is like
fuck?
mid-level. Man just starts like scrolling. He's not like doing anything. He's just like looking at stuff. And I'm looking over and I'm just like, I'm just shocked. I'm like, dude,
Like, why are you even here, man?
what are you doing? And so, I know like there's two types of people. There's multiple types of people in the theater. There's the ones that'll basically be passive aggressive, not even like do anything about it, but they just kind of give looks and they're like, oh, and they just deal with it the whole time. There's people that'll be like, not even sitting next to them, and they just see like a light in the front. They're like, hey, you shut that off. And it's like, there's times when you could do that, and there's times when you're like, yo, don't do that though. And then there's people that just like kind of take care of it, I guess, that are like, if you're right next to it. And I was like, I will elect option C. So I slowly lean over to him and I look at him and he looks over to me and I smooch him. No, but I look at him and I just kind of, I get close to him and I'm like, hey, you could do that outside. And he just puts everything away. And I just like go back and I'm like, yeah, like it is 8:15 in the morning. I did not come here on a Saturday at 8:15 in the morning to deal with you going on your phone because I don't even know what what you're thinking right now, like what you
Yeah.
have
It's
in
like,
your
why'd you
mind
even
going
sign up
on.
for like a
It's okay.
3 hour movie if you're gonna just be like, it's 5 minutes in, I'm bored, I'm gonna just scroll through Twitter. It's like, what the fuck?
Dude, that's how you become my enemy. Like, I don't deal with this stuff anymore. There was almost when I was in LA, we almost got into a fight with somebody in the theater. I don't
Nah.
care anymore. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm not gonna try to be like a dick about it and like maybe shout throughout the whole theater or something, depending on what's going on with the situation. But if you're in my proximity and I can go over to you, I will be going over to you. There is no doubt about that now. I don't care. I've at least I've destroyed that barrier of just like there's some confidence there now where I'm just like, I will talk to you, especially now because I was a middle school PE teacher. So I have no problem talking to you. I'll make you run laps, bitch. So yeah, yeah. But the movie, we were still able to fully grasp it at 8:15 in the morning in a big ass
Yeah.
theater, on a big ass screen. And
No, I think, like, at the end of the
yeah,
movie, I said to you, like, I can't remember the last time I've seen a movie that long that kept me completely engrossed and entertained and focused the entire time. Because
yeah.
I was just like everything that was happening, I was fascinated.
And this is coming off of like for those that like a lot most don't know. I used to have like Christopher Nolan was like my favorite director. Christopher Nolan was my favorite director. I didn't really like branch out and look at all the different directors for film or anything, or all the different writers and everything else. And it was pretty much like, oh, it's the Dark Knight trilogy. He also did Interstellar and Inception and Prestige. And I'm like,
Yeah,
these
it's
six
like, "This guy
movies,
can't do anything wrong."
these are all great. And I watched Insomnia and I'm like, oh, I don't know about that one. And it's like, well, he didn't
Nah.
write it. And I'm like, oh yeah, he didn't write it. That's just like one of those like they got him to direct it. And that was kind of I'm like, that's a pass, then fine. Uh but then Dunkirk came out and I'm like, yo, this sucks.
Mhm.
Movie's boring. I hate this. Like it was like, okay, cinematography and sound are amazing. The story and what's going on is just a bunch of British people patting themselves on the backs for running away and like getting a clean getaway. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I thought it was gonna be about like it's a war epic. I'm like, where's the war? It's just dudes running and hiding and shit. There's no actual fights or anything. And like the if you wanted it to be a war epic, you could have done it about the French soldiers that stayed behind, that allowed them to retreat and run for their lives. So that would have been a more interesting movie, but they didn't go that route, unfortunately. And so that movie was like, oh, yo, is this dude not as good as I thought he was? And I didn't really know what to do there. I was like, all right, maybe I should look at other directors. I don't really know because this one was just kind of whatever. And then Tenet, we actually finally saw for the first time because Tenet I refused to watch. Not because quality of the movie, but it came into theaters because no one's like, it needs to be in theaters. And it's like, bro, it's in the
Oh,
middle of
yeah.
COVID
It
and no
was
one wants
literally,
to go
like,
watch a
right when
movie
it
in a theater.
started.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to go see this in a theater right now.
Yeah.
And it left theaters and he was like, oh, I'm leaving Warner Brothers because they put movies out on HBO and I'm gonna go to fucking Universal. And I'm like, all right, he's gonna go to Universal, I guess. And so I never watched Tenet, and I was like, I'll wait for it to go back into theater again. And it showed up. What did we watch at the Alamo, right?
I think we saw it at the Alamo, yeah.
Yeah, we watched it at the Alamo,
It was
and
good, it was just, like, confusing as shit.
it was definitely not one of his higher tiered movies. It's definitely one of his lower tier movies, but entertaining. It was like
Yeah.
easily better than Dunkirk. No doubt about it. But once I was told by some of my friends that had seen it in theaters, they were like, "Hey, you just got to turn your brain off." And I'm like, "Oh God, I
Yeah.
hate it when they do that." But okay,
Basically, like,
fine.
my quick review of Tenet was like, "That was interesting, but I have questions."
Yeah, and I looked at it and I kept telling like, "There's no don't ask the questions. It's not worth it. Don't even bother.
Yeah.
There's no point in asking questions because this isn't a movie. It's a stupid movie that acts smart. It's not a smart movie
That's pretty
acting
apt.
stupid.
Yeah.
It is a stupid movie acting smart. That is literally Tenet in a nutshell. It's like, yo, that was really smart. No, that was really stupid. It just looked really smart. They did it like it was the guy going like, what if I explained to you some complete and total bullshit, but I said it so convincingly that you believed me. That's Tenet. That is
Yeah.
pretty much what Tenet was.
Why is the bullet going backwards? "Oh, we just inverted its momentum." "Huh?" Or its inertia. It's like, Huh?
I'm like, "Oh, it's good." It's like, "Would you say it's one of your top movies?" Fuck no, dude. No,
Yeah.
it's not. This is definitely not like Prestige. This is not Interstellar. This is not Inception. None of those. It's Tenet. But
Yeah.
at least it's not Dunkirk. And then Oppenheimer comes out, and that is what is that? Nolan's longest movie,
I'd be
and
shocked if it wasn't. It was, like, over 3 hours long. Not too many movies get that long.
yeah, I can say easily the shots in that movie were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Amazing cinematography in that. It was so good. Like the focus, because the difference is like, let's say with Dunkirk, it was like they're trying to show the spectacle of the field, even though it was a bullshit spectacle at the same time. It was really whatever. Um, this one was like you're focusing on individuals and just the shots of each individual, their emotions, and just the angle of the camera and the way they just have it. Some of it, whether it's in color or black and white, just kept you focused. You're not looking away. You're staying focused that whole time on those people. That was amazing. The sound itself was great. It didn't do anything like extracurricular, but it did its job where, like we know in the sound world, it's like, oh, when people don't notice anything, that usually mean if they're fully like in the world, then you did a good job because you made it come to life and they're not going like, was that a right sound or something? Like, so it did its job.
Yeah.
Um, and then the story. So what he lacked in the last couple movies, it was a true story, but like, a little bit different because it's Nolan doing his own style of it, but it was
Also, apparently
highly
this movie
entertaining.
was based on a book, like a specific Oppenheimer, like, or biography book.
I believe so, yeah. I forget who it
Yeah.
was by, but
My dad just
um
read it. He kept being like, "Did they talk about this in the movie too?" Yeah.
it does a lot. And one of the big things I guess that we can say now is this is the first black and white IMAX movie made for IMAX because IMAX never existed back in black and white.
I guess.
So
I
this was
don't know if
actually
you
a really
wanna
big.
count the Snyder cut black and white, version, but that never actually got to theaters, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much this is the one. That's why it was such a big deal too for like I guess like certain the things he did with the film because even if Nolan isn't the best in terms of story, just like James Cameron isn't the best in terms of story, they both are very integral to just the quality of filmmaking in the world. James Cameron in being just pushing boundaries, trying new things, and the style of filmmaking he does. Nolan with like IMAX shoot, like literally filming always in IMAX, and just his style as well. They're vastly different, but still like pretty much second to none in terms of just quality of the film making. Um, I guess it's story. It really depends. Uh, the movie itself, though, I thought it was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
easily said, it was really amazing. It's hard the reason is because for a movie that's really just majority of the time people talking, I've never been so just completely captivated by it compared to, like, what was it? The Irishman, Scorsese's
Oh,
long-ass
yeah.
movie, and it's good, but I was like, "Fuck, please end this movie. I don't wanna be here anymore."
Well, what was interesting about Oppenheimer to me was, like, I assumed based off of, like, basically all the ads for the and the trailers and stuff that it was gonna be mostly focusing on his work on the Manhattan Project, but this movie covered, like, way more of his life than I thought it was gonna, because
Before and after, yeah.
it covered, like, a little bit of when he was originally in school, like, in university, he got to meet Niels Bohr, and I was like, "Holy shit, that guy?" And then uh yeah, his like early career as like a professor or something like that. And then when he got recruited to the Manhattan Project, like he had to fight to be on the Manhattan Project because apparently his like a lot of the early part of the movie was talking about him and his like they kept trying to phrase it as like he's communist leaning, but it's more just like he has an open mind of like, why would I subscribe to a set philosophy? Why wouldn't I just like pick and choose the things that make sense to me?
And
So,
it's also like he has no problem associating with people that have been known in the
yeah.
past to be like that, which is what was his primary endangerment.
So I thought it was really interesting that this movie did a very good job of painting a pretty detailed picture about not just what Oppenheimer did in his life, but the kind of person he was. So I thought that they did a really good job with that for sure. And then yeah, like I guess the only complaint I might have if I want to say that this movie felt a little long was like once they were wrapping up after like the Manhattan Project was like done, I was like, oh, okay, so we must be close to the end. There's like an extra hour to the movie because there's like a whole trial thing about like um it's like at the end of the movie became about the confirmation hearing to I forget Robert Downey Jr.'s character's name. It was like
Louis
Strauss.
Strauss, yeah.
Yeah. And that was super interesting because like the whole movie, you're like, oh, he's a good guy. He's a friend.
He's
He's got
defend yeah,
yeah,
he's
he got
gonna
Oppenheimer his job. And then it's like, oh no, he was like slighted by him one time and never forgot. And like, oh my god, the payoff at the end of that like confirmation hearing was so satisfying.
just it was insane to have a twist where a character is evil because he's petty,
Yeah.
and it's not expect you're just like, "Wait, what?" Because 'Cause you're like, "Wait, what? Oh my god, he's not with Oppenheimer. Wait,
Yeah.
what? This
Like
is the reason why?"
the scene when Oppenheimer's wife is like, "You guys are idiots. It's obviously Strauss," and they're like, "No, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Why would he do this?" Like, because why else would he? Like she figured it out before anyone else, and she was basically like, "You're being complete idiots. Like, I know you don't want to believe that this guy would stoop this low, but I'm telling you, nothing else makes sense."
Yeah, and the whole thing, it's like the cast itself is insane.
Oh
It is an
yeah,
insane cast. You have, like, Cillian Murphy, fucking
dude, when they got Gary Oldman for one scene to play like what I keep forgetting which president that was, but I was like, I literally halfway through the scene was like,
oh, was it Lyndon B. Johnson? No, it wasn't Lyndon B. No, it's, who plays
whoever,
the one that succeeds,
yeah, the one that actually drops the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki
yeah,
or makes the
holy
order.
crap, how did I forget his name?
Yeah, I'm so terrible with names and like history and
I'm
stuff like
like,
that.
I
So
mixed up. I'm like, which president was the one that was vice president and had to take over because someone died? I'm like, let's see. No, that was the
yeah,
Vietnam era one for JFK. That's Lyndon
mm.
B. Johnson.
Yeah, I literally like halfway through the scene was like, "Holy shit, is that Gary Oldman?" And then at the end of the movie, when you're like looking through the credits, you saw Gary Oldman's name, and you were like, "Holy shit, that was Gary Oldman."
I'm having so much trouble
Yeah,
finding. He's not even at the top of the thing. He's like all the way below. I can't find
yeah.
him.
They had like Florence Pugh was like one lover he had one time.
Truman, son of a bitch.
Truman, yeah,
Yeah, but he plays Truman. Um, it's got Emily Blunt as the wife, as Kitty Oppenheimer, Downey Jr. in it. Matt Damon is in it, which is crazy.
yeah,
Um, it's got Jack Quaid. It's got Josh Peck. When you're like, wait,
yeah, dude.
what?
This movie was stacked with talent.
It's insane how many. Oh, Alden Emmerich was in there, uh, and he did a great job too, because he's Strauss's like aide for a lot of it, if I recall.
Yeah,
And he's just, like, flabbergasted
when he
by
finds
what
out that
Strauss
Strauss
is
was like,
doing.
yeah, when he found out that Strauss was like hiding shit from him and like was like, orchestrating shit the whole time, and he's like, "You've been lying to me this whole time? Why? I'm just in here to help you."
He was literally just so, like he was basi Strauss freaking Emmerich is literally the audience, practically.
Yeah,
we're like, "What are you doing?" And then, like, at the end, it's like, "Did you ever consider it wasn't even about you?" It's
yeah,
like his whole conversation with Einstein and stuff.
yeah. Like, cause the whole thing, Strauss is just like, he turned the scientists against me. It's all Oppenheimer's fault. Why like shit didn't work out for me back then, and it's just like, no, you're just an asshole, and everyone can pick up on that because you're an asshole.
Oh, and oh my god, the other twist, Rami Malek, is in it as another scientist, but he
Oh
is,
god,
like,
that was so good. That was what I was talking about, the satisfying payoff where like he's supposed to be Strauss's like star witness,
David Hill. Yeah.
and he's just like, no, Strauss. like did all this shit to slander Oppenheimer. Like he made this whole like orchestrated like thing just to get back at him because he's petty, and it's just like, oh shit, that's not what he was supposed to say.
So good.
Uh,
Also, the author of the book was Kai Bird, and Martin Sherwin apparently. Um, yeah, I believe
yeah,
based on book by I guess they co-wrote the book, and then pretty much Nolan wrote and directed himself this movie,
yeah,
which tells you it's another Nolan. It's a Nolan film, just
yeah.
like
Something
most
he cared
others.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
uh, but I guess looking at it in like the act structure of the before, the during, and the after. The before, it's like you don't really think everything is gonna take as long as it does. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there are times where like once the bomb drops, I'm like, oh, so it's probably gonna end soon, right?
yeah,
It's like, you fool, this is like Return of the King. Remember there's four endings, and also we're not at the ending yet. I'm like, oh my god. But they explain so much because then you get into like, yeah, everything that happens after. You get into the comment, like it comes full circle because it goes from just like they're doing the I guess like act 1 and act 2, you are getting two different like timelines. You're getting this is what's happening before they create the nuke. This is what's happening when they're creating the nuke. And during both of those, at each of those like acts, they have the present day kind of trial that's going on. And once you get to act 3, it pretty much like leads into the trial and then becomes just the trial because now it's like finally gone on to like the present day kind of thing for them, not for it's not our present day because
yeah.
everyone's dead. But uh they got through all of that and then eventually like end it. But the act 1 is really interesting because you don't really expect that much to be explained to us. Like all we knew was we're going to learn about the bomb. And they go through all this other stuff of like, hey, this is how this works with science. And these are the breakthroughs we're making with science at our universities and everything else. And all the dinner parties and the stuff with Florence Pugh and whatnot, which I'm just like, holy shit, Florence, like I keep forgetting that she's like I keep forgetting that that's
Yeah.
her. I'm like, "That dude, that's Florence Pugh, that's kinda crazy, like, holy shit," considering, like, all the other movies I've seen her in recently.
And like at the
Uh,
time in the beginning of the movie, I was like, man, they're spending a lot of time on his like going to communist parties and stuff like that. And then it kind of comes back later because like that was like one of the main reasons for why they revoked his security clearance, which was like important for Strauss's plan later on, was like, oh, we're in the time where like no one likes communists, like the Red Scare, so like he's a communist, can't trust him. So like I don't know, it was cool that like as long as it took to get to its point, it all like was for a purpose.
yeah. It was hard to remember every single person coming into the movie because
A
there's
little bit,
so
yeah.
many it's like a revolving door of the cast because you get the build up this of the science team over time. You get, like, all the non-scientists, more like communist people at the same time. You get the political people as well, the military people. So you're getting all these different factions, and only some of them like kind of are in two circles. Like you might have a communist scientist or like a military scientist or things like that. And so it gets kind of crazy in terms of trying to keep track of every single person that's there. The best way we were able to do it, or at least for me, was only because I'd be like, I already knew who this person I knew who the actor was already. There was a well-known actor that I'm like, oh shit, it's that person. So if I saw them again, I'd be like, oh, there you go. But like there was some where it was just like shit, because wasn't one of them Chevalier, right? Wasn't that the one that was like the communist?
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
yeah. So like him was one I had to learn on my own because I'm like, I know that actor, but not as he's not I'm like, it's not like Jack Quaid or Josh Peck where I'm like, Josh Peck, Drake and Josh, Josh is making the fucking nuke. I'm like, it's really like I wanted when you're seeing Josh Peck make the nuke, I just wanted at the end, like when they drop the nuke and be like, we did it, hug me, brother, and I'm be like, oh boy, it's Drake and Josh. But it's like, no, dude, it's just Josh Peck in a fucking nuclear movie. And it's so rare. I feel like it's so rare to see him in movies at the same time. I mean, obviously Drake isn't in anything anymore, but it's like, oh, there's Josh. Holy shit, he's in this movie. I didn't expect this, so it's kind of cool. Um, and then Act Two like does a good job of just getting into we're in wartime. Here's where we're setting up. We're in this like our desert base, pretty much in like New Mexico, I think, right? Were they in New Mexico?
Yeah, it was in New Mexico.
Yeah. And, they're doing the testing there and everything else, and it's the funniest thing of just, this is the first time anyone's made a nuclear bomb and tested it. So, having him go like, "There's a low percent chance, a very, very low percent chance we could destroy the world." And they're like, "Wait, what?" And it's like,
Yeah, Matt
"Yeah, but it
Damon's
probably won't
like,
happen."
what do you mean? Oh, it was like they were taking bets on stuff, and one of the side bets was like atmospheric ignition. And he's like, yeah, what was that about? Like, oh, there's a small chance that the reaction might not stop and we might detonate the atmosphere and set the entire world on fire. And it's like, how small a chance? Like almost zero. Like, I don't like that. I'd
Yeah,
rather it just be zero.
I'd just be like, "Bro, we're, like, next to this thing right now. Like, what the f"
Yeah.
That would be dude, they had to, like just I think the hardest part, not even I mean, obviously making the bomb is insane, but also projecting the expectation of the blast radius
Yeah.
and making sure everyone's, like, at a safe distance. It's like, "Dude, are we at a safe distance?" And
I
they
love like the
they
one dude.
were
Yeah.
mostly, but they weren't also because we know the whole history of, "Hey, yo, I was a soldier at the nuclear testing here." It's like, "No way, I have cancer." And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, no way, how'd that happen?"
Well, I love like one of the scientists, like the dude who's was like, "Hey, we shouldn't be making a fission bomb. We should be making a fusion bomb," which we eventually did. But like he was straight up like slathering sunscreen on himself at night because he knew the bomb was gonna be like releasing radiation. Uh,
You guys think I look like an idiot, but in the long run, I'm gonna be the smart one.
uh,
God, some of the scientists are just funny. Like, it was fun watching their reactions and how someone just walk out. They'd be like, "I'm done." Be like, "Hey, don't come back. Like, this dude's
yeah,
a fucking idiot. Just stay with me." Um, a lot of just the small scientist talk was incredibly engaging, just like listening to it because it felt like it was real. You're like, "Oh my god, I can't like they're doing such a good job of convincing you this is how it all went down." Like, I haven't seen anything this good in a long time that like does that. That's just like based on the historical event, blah 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 blah. So it was just like, damn,
yeah.
they
It's
did
just
it.
so fascinating that they literally built a town in the middle of nowhere just to do this, and then it's like a fully functioning town.
Yeah. And then like they're like, "Oh my god, the bombs dropped, we did it." Everyone's like, "Woo!" And you're just like,
What's next?
"Fuck." Because this is coming like, when you're a kid, you don't think too much of it until they show you pictures, I feel like. And I don't even feel like they do that in school really, or at least I don't remember them doing that for us.
No, I think that'd be a bit horrific to show kids.
Yeah, like you learn it on your own, I feel like, or you see it in college or something. I'm not too sure. Maybe high school, depending on the high school, but I really don't remember. I don't
Like,
think
the
we
gist I
saw
remember
it.
as a kid, like, the most I remember about learning about, like, dropping nuclear bombs on Japan or, like, to finish World War II was literally just like, "And then we dropped 2 bombs, and then Japan surrendered a few days later," and it's like, they kinda gloss over how like, why they would be so quick to, surrender after seeing the absolute devastation that 2 bombs could do.
Yeah, and they
Like,
were they were gonna send the third to Tokyo, and it was like
yeah.
the what
We
was it?
basically made it seem like we could keep going
And the general's
indefinitely.
just like, "Yeah, fuck it, keep going." and, and the emperor's like, "No, don't do it, please. We're done. We quit."
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. I think that's how it went. Like General Tojo was straight up just like, "Fuck it," until the last man standing, and then like Emperor Hirohito is just like, "Nah."
yeah,
But because I think like one I think Tojo had actually, like, more power than he was supposed to. I'm not really that's a whole another ballpark, but, um, it reminded me of, like I more recently, I guess, like, last October, around that time, watched, The Terror season 2, which was, like, the Japanese internment camps, and there's a scene in it which has, what's his name? Holy shit.
Verge Decay.
George Takei, yeah.
Dude,
And
that scene is chilling.
yeah, he has a dream. He's, like, in bed, and he sees a friend of his he hasn't seen since he left Japan. It's like his friend that's in Japan. He's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
like a
yeah, I did all
childhood
this."
friend.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I had a full family and did all this stuff. Like, I actually had a good life for the most part and, like, was successful." And he's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, what's going on? Like, why are you here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm crossing over." And he's like, What? Who's that with you?" He's like, "Oh, my whole family." And you see, like,
Yeah.
his entire family is behind him, and it's so like talking about it now, like, yeah, that gives me chills because like, holy shit.
It's, like,
And
embarrassing to say that I literally, up until that point, never really thought, like, the actual thought that, like, yeah, entire families were wiped out.
oh
Not
yeah,
just, like, people, but, like, entire families are just gone
and before watching it, like,
forever.
I've seen photos, I've seen all the stuff of, like, what it looked like. The whole thing the reason I knew it especially too is because Godzilla 1954
Yeah.
is the whole thing about nuclear testing and everything else, and the whole, like, aftermath of him attacking the city. You see all the people, like, in the hospitals all fucked up and shit. You're just like, "Yeah, this is supposed to be, like, the aftermath of nukes." Like, that's the whole point of it, and seeing like that in terror, like you're like, "Oh my god, holy shit." And watching an Oppenheimer, that thought hits your head because it hits Oppenheimer's head. He's just like, "Holy shit, what have I done?"
Yeah, like, they did, I think, a pretty good job of showing, like, the guilt that he was feeling as he's, like, trying to give a speech of, like, "Yeah, we did a good job," but all he's thinking is, like, the horrors that his bombs are going to like, cause.
It's like I did a thing to beat the whole like the reason they don't, I guess, regret doing what they did is the main idea of we're not letting the Germans do it first.
I think that was where I started getting, like, that like, at some point in the movie, I got this depressed, like, feeling of just, like, "Why the fuck are we like this?" Like,
Yeah.
humanity, like, why is humanity like this that we distrust each other so much that we're like, "We have to make a bigger bomb because they're gonna make a big bomb,
Yeah.
and we can't let them have a big bomb before we have a big bomb." So,
And it is like, you
they
have that with the Germans, right? And then
yeah,
you're like,
and that's
"Oh,
the
the
thing,
Germans
like, they
surrendered." And it's like, "Cool. Hey, what if the Russians are building it?" "Oh, fuck. All right, yeah, build the fucking bomb. God damn
yeah, and
it."
that's the thing, it's like they were very much, like, debating, or the scientists were like, "Should we even do this? Because this is,
Yeah.
like, morally wrong. Like, there's no ethical reason why something like this should exist." And that was just the fission bomb, not even the H bomb. And, like, the military people were basically like, "Well, we're gonna do it anyway because someone's gonna do it. It might as well be us first."
Yeah, pretty much like because they already have, like, a new team like, they have some of the scientists from the previous team, and they're like,
Yeah.
We're starting the next bomb."
It's just the idea of, like, this is inevitable. We are just hardwired to want to be as secure as possible, and we see power as a source of security. So we have to do this. There is no option B of, like, why don't we all just get along? That's just not in our nature, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's just, like, as brutal and, as horrid as war can be, it's just, like, at least it's more controlled, like, it's not like
Yeah.
one little thing flies through the air and goes, "Splat, you're all gone." Um,
Like, to be able to wipe out entire cities at once is, like, that should be unthinkable
yeah.
for most people.
Which, like, the whole point now is everyone's like, "Yo, you can't use your bombs and everything else," and
Yeah.
every now and again, there might be a small amount that get, like, taken off the rotation and, like, disposed of, and I don't think they make any more. The whole thing is, like, no one's allowed to make any more.
Yeah.
But there's still way too many from everyone that
Yeah,
has
like, we
them.
could literally, like, I think the US or Russia alone could just, like, completely decimate the Earth entirely with, like, not even all of our nukes.
Yeah, and it's
Not
like
even
at the
close.
same time too, you're just kinda like, "But why how would they do that?" And it's like, "Yeah, so us and Russia started fighting and we shot at each other and we went like, well, besides hitting Russia, we should also just, fuck it, just hit Africa, hit Australia, hit like all these other neutral countries that are like, wait, why are we getting hit? We didn't even do anything. We're not even on your side."
Fair is fair.
Yeah. Like, it's just like, wait, holy
Uh,
shit. And the other thing being like, what was I just thinking of? I had it in my head and I just lost it. Holy crap. Um,
was it related to like we're just hardwired to build bigger
oh
weapons?
yeah, no, yeah, yeah, now I got it. It's like, well, shit, we need fucking Cobra. We need Cobra to come in and
Yeah.
fix the day. I don't know if anyone's seen the stupid movie G.I. Joe Retaliation, where they just like, look, it's The Rock. He's fucking whoever the fuck he is, The Rock. And in it, what's his face? Like, not Zemo, Zardon or something. I forget. The dude that can like change faces and stuff. He's disguised as the president, and he assembles like all the leading world powers, all the ones that have nukes, and he goes like, "Hey, everybody, I'm forcing all of your hands." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I've assembled all the world leaders here to launch my nukes." And he just launches all the US nukes because they all think he's the US president. And they're like, "Oh fuck."
Oh,
All
so
the
he
all
tricked
the
them. It's a
all
du
the
oh.
no, but they all he does launch them because
Wait, how did he
they
have access?
because they think he's the president. He kidnapped the original president and replaced him with himself.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
he disguised himself as the president. So, like, he's been the president the whole
That's
time,
so
and
weird.
they don't realize that he's not, he's fake, he's part of Cobra. And so, he launches all the US nukes, every single one of them, and then all the other countries are like, "Fuck, launch the nukes!" So everyone launches all their nukes, and he goes like, "Ha, ha, ha," and then, like, the Cobra satellite or some shit takes out all the nukes while they're, like, in orbit or whatever, like, when they're, like, all in at the highest point they could be, and he goes like, "Now Cobra's got, like, the one weapon or whatever, and Cobra's in charge." And I kinda thought about it, and I'm like,
Wait,
"That's
so
actually."
Cobra denuclearized the world?
Yes.
So they're the good guys.
Yes. I was
Uh,
literally like, "Wait, this is a good thing." I'm like, "Cobra, the Cobra World Order did something. Fuck it. You know what? Cobra!"
dude, that
Like,
would be
fuck.
such a funny, like, what if that was a G.I. Joe movie where Cobra did that and then everyone's like, wait, has G.I. Joe been stopping Cobra from saving the world? Is G.I. Joe the bad people?
It really was. I was like, "You know what? I wish there was a real life Cobra that just did that." And then they're all just gone. It's like the nukes are gone. It's like, now what? And it's like, I don't know. Fucking like, don't be an asshole. That's what I guess. I don't know.
Not
Like,
to keep going on tangents, but I love that, like, I think what was it Superman 4 where he just, like, convinces everyone in the world to give him their nukes and he just throws them into the sun.
I think that's the one called A Quest for Peace or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
that's how
yeah,
Nuclear Man got made.
yeah. But
Uh,
yeah, Oppenheimer.
it's a
Yeah.
depressing but great movie.
Yeah, it's so good, and like I said, just all the interactions are amazing. Robert Downey Jr. is for sure getting Best Supporting Actor. He can't not get a Best Supporting Actor for
Yeah.
that. Cillian Murphy deserves an Oscar for that for Best
Oh,
Actor.
absolutely.
Um,
Dude, like, everyone in that movie did, like, an award-winning performance, in my
I wouldn't
opinion.
be
It was
surprised if there
insane.
were 2 people nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but it's
Yeah.
hard for Best Supporting Actress. I'm like, would it go to Emily Blunt or Florence Pugh? Would they both be
Yeah, because
nominated?
Florence Pugh, like, her role wasn't as much of the movie as Emily Blunt, but, like,
It's very
it was a
there.
pretty important role, and
When she
she
was there,
acted
she
the
was
shit
present.
out of it.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be shocked if both of them got nominated for Best Actress. This movie is gonna probably be the most nominated movie of the year,
I could
without a
absolutely
doubt.
see that for sure.
Everything from actor, director, screenplay,
Cinematography.
and cinematography, like sound, everything. It is literally gonna be in every single category, maybe just not music. It might still be music because I think Hans Zimmer still did the music too. Let me
Maybe. I'd
I
have to
think
look it up.
I could look it up right now. One second. Composer. I was wrong. Ludwig Göransson. That's like the first non-Hans Zimmer.
Okay.
Wait, yo, that's the Mandalorian guy. He did the Mandalorian
Oh,
soundtrack. Yo, nominated him for music too.
nice.
um, yeah. So, oh, he did Tenet. Wait, how many
Hmm.
movies did Zimmer not do then? Holy crap! Oh, I think Zimmer probably just switched up because he was too busy with all the DC movies.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes more sense actually. I get it. I wouldn't do this. I'd do BVS instead anyway too, just to get the Wonder Woman sound. To be the guy that be like, I created the Wonder Woman soundtrack and I created the
Yeah.
Man of Steel soundtrack, which are like two of the best superhero soundtracks now of all time. So, or like
Every once in a
songs.
while, the Wonder Woman like guitar riff just like pops into my head, and I'm just like, God damn, that song is fucking good.
Yeah. So I think that movie is probably honestly my top film of the year so far. Um,
Probably same for me.
I can't like it's hard because some people could say it might be pretentious or something, but I honestly think it was pretty like they put the work in for this movie.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
really did.
So one thing that I thought was super funny was like literally, I think it was like 8 months before this movie even came out. There, we were going to the Metreon to see some other movie. I forget what it was, but like they already had an Oppenheimer like ad, like
Oh,
a
this is like a year before it
cardboard.
even came out. Yeah.
Yeah, it had like a cardboard ad on it with like a countdown clock, which like I guess that's also what led into my belief that the movie was going to be mostly about the atomic bomb test, because like it was a
Had the
literal
24
count.
hour, like the whole movie is just the
Yeah, but
countdown.
it was counting down for like 9 months or something like that, and I was like, are they going to keep this shit up for like 8 or 9 months, however long this timer it was? Like, there's no way this movie is worth that much hype that they take up this much space for the majority of a year for like a single ad. I was wrong. That movie was absolutely worth that hype.
Yes, it very much was.
Yeah.
I'll probably even buy this movie, honestly. It was that good. I don't even know how
Yeah,
many
I don't
times
buy too
I'm
many
gonna buy
physical
it and be
movies.
like, wait, am I gonna watch this? Probably not that many
That's the thing. I
times.
don't
But I
buy too many
appreciate
physical
it enough that I
movies.
should have it, I guess.
But this is like one of the few that I might like actually bother to get like the 4K Ultra Blu-ray or whatever, because it's
Yeah,
like actually worth it.
yeah.
Plus,
And
I
it
can only
does.
imagine I would get it just for the special features at the end where they explain how the fuck they practically did a nuclear explosion.
Yeah, because now
Because
I'm like,
supposedly that wasn't CG.
okay. Yeah, because now I'm like, what's up next, Christopher? Like, what's your next thing? Wait, what?
Yeah, I love that like people were joking on Twitter of like, because Barbie started doing viral marketing of like, oh, they set up an actual Barbie Malibu dream house in Malibu or whatever, and you can rent it as an Airbnb. And what's Oppenheimer gonna do? And the implication being like they're gonna just start setting off nukes. uh,
So, um, there's gonna be a Memento remake that he's writing. I don't
Interesting.
know.
Okay.
I don't know if that's his next movie, but okay. Hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know about that. The other thing being like, I guess like the thing that kind of really does scare you as a person in the real world is, you get through all of that. You go through just the buildup of this is like they're doing it. Something's gonna come out of the just watching him in his early life too. It's insane watching the production of the bomb, and it's incredible. And ending into like the whole here's the trial. This is why usually a lot of the times America's pretty evil with its own shit, even with its own people. It's like they didn't learn from the Puritans and how stupid and inferior they were in their thoughts and ideals. And we do the same thing and becoming inferior and stupid again with being like, oh, it's the Red Scare. Gotta fucking tell your neighbor he's a communist and get him fired from his job and blacklisted, blah, 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 blah. And it's so stupid how people were. They were stupid. If you're still alive and you did that, you were
Yeah.
stupid. Um, and now like you get through all of that. You get through like the twists and turns, everything with Alden Emmerich and Robert Downey Jr. and all their stuff, and it goes to the end with like his talk with Einstein again, and it's that whole of just like I think we've destroyed the world kind of thing, and it
Yeah.
just has like that shot of all the nukes going into the sky, and you're just like, fuck. And it is incredibly demoralizing. Like that's why people would say they left the theater just like fucked up. And it wasn't like I could see some people from just knowing the whole bombing of Japan and feeling like Oppenheimer's pain. I could see some people from all the Red Scare bullshit that goes on. And it's like those two are pretty prominent. But definitely the majority of people, if not like anyone that felt like just like I'm, that fucked me up a bit was definitely just seeing those nukes in the air and thinking about now, like, oh hey, aren't Russians and the U.S. and China always just kind of like all the time?
Yeah.
And you're
Like
just
every
like,
time
could you
Putin's
not?
like, we might use tactical nukes in Ukraine, we're thinking about it. It's like, please don't.
Don't do that.
Just
No,
don't.
just don't do that.
Please.
Can we not? Can we avoid this? Like, or at least wait until I move out of like a major city or something and go
Yeah.
into the woods? Like, can we? Let's just avoid all of this, please. Thank you. Uh, it's just, yeah, it was very unsettling, and they do such a good job of making it unsettling because a lot of the times, maybe there's a thing in the movie where, as an example, I think like what was it, Black Klansman, the Spike Lee joint.
Yeah.
It goes through the whole of like, it's the black cop who's disguised himself somehow via audio, like tricking the KKK into like getting a cop undercover in there and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, we can all get along, cops and black people and stuff. And you're just like, it's kind of a far fetched message, but okay. And it's very much just like, okay, that was an interesting movie, and then it goes like, "Here's real footage from a thing of a guy running people over in a car at a protest," and you're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Holy, what the where did that even come from? Where did you pull that out from?" And it's showing, like, real footage of, like, modern day KKK and shit, and you're just like, "Jesus Christ." And you're just coming out of it like, "Fuck, what where the fuck did where at the beginning, we had Alec Baldwin acting like a KKK guy, and it was hilarious, and then you come here and you're showing us, like, the real stuff at the end, and you're like, the beginning and the end, just the contrast of reality versus, like,
Just feels like a
just
slap to the face.
yeah, and you're like, "God damn," and this is like, yeah, what if we still made it fictional? Or, like, it's basically still within the movie, it's not real footage, but we still scare the shit out of you,
It's
and you're
just as
like,
horrifying because
yeah,
it's
it's
not like the imagery that's scary. It's the concept of just like we are literally our own worst enemy
I
and we
become
can
death, the
destroy
destroyer of
ourselves.
worlds.
Yeah, we can destroy ourselves at any time.
Yeah, so it was crazy, man. It was a very good film, though.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this is one of his best movies. In terms of like quality of a film, it's definitely up there. In terms of my enjoyment of it, I don't think it's like in my top 5 at all for his movies because, like I said, there is still the fucking Dark Knight trilogy. There is Inception.
Yeah.
There is Prestige. There is Interstellar with the current memes that exist for it
Man,
now. Murph, don't do it, Murph. Don't go back.
don't let me go, Murph.
Yeah,
Uh,
every
yeah,
time.
I'd have to think about it, like where sits in my uh Nolan movie like list, I guess, because like yeah, those are also all very good movies. But
Yeah.
damn, Oppenheimer was good.
Yeah, definitely. I just really want to say really fast that whole like, when McConaughey is in like that behind the walls thing.
Hmm.
There was a funny, the most recent one I saw that was hilarious was did you probably heard of it. I know you don't watch football, but Aaron Rodgers got like injured
Yeah,
within 4
I
plays
saw that. That was
of the game.
it was
Dude, that
gross.
was insane. I couldn't even because I was like, oh, my Jets are the number 2 for me this year. Like Aaron Rodgers is on there. It's gonna be fun. Jets finally have something good going on. And when when he gets injured, there's a thing of like Jets fans in the wall, like post game, watching their past selves buy Aaron Rodgers jerseys, knowing right after
Oh,
like 4 plays they have to put on the Zach Wilson jerseys again anyway. So there's no point in buying it. So they're trying to stop themselves from buying the Rodgers jerseys. They're like, no, wait, don't do it. Come
that's
back.
funny.
It's so, oh my god, it was so sad that look at all the memes from that day. It didn't help
Listening to
also that it
Colin
was on national
Moriarty talk
TV.
about that because he's such a huge Jets fan was like hilarious and sad.
Dude, I immediately when that happened went on Twitter and the memes that were there already immediately were insane. And the fact that it was on 9/11 did not, I'll just say
Right?
this, it
Yeah.
didn't help anyone. It didn't
Yeah.
help anyone, but it was so, there was some
It's
crazy
like
shit.
I agree with Colin that it's like it's almost like cosmic comedy that is just like they finally get a good quarterback or whatever and he just like snaps his like leg or whatever tendon it was in
Achilles
like the
tendon.
first game
In the
and he's
first
like
it wasn't even a turnover yet. It was in the first 4 plays of the game.
damn,
Yeah, it was insane.
and it like happens so bad you could see the moment it happens on film.
It's so
Jeez.
crazy. It's the field's fault. Like they guys, don't use turf.
Yeah.
Turf is literally not good for players. It is literally a hazard. Anyway, all right. I think we've said everything we wanted for Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And switching wheels completely to Barbie.
Not entirely, because like I thought it was super interesting after watching Barbie and how unexpectedly deep it got at certain parts.
At certain parts.
That like both of these movies kind of have a theme of like how terrible humanity can be for different reasons.
Yeah,
Although it was a very interesting day at the theater.
it really was.
Uh,
But God, it's one of
I
those.
also love
Okay,
that people are joking that sort of joking that it's like the category for like best supporting actor might actually come down to like Robert Downey Jr. as Strauss and like oh god, what the fuck is his
Ryan
name?
Gosling
Ryan
is
Gosling
Ken.
as Ken.
I'm like, I don't know who I would choose. I really don't. It's okay.
Also, people are like saying that he should, after seeing his getup as like Ken, after he gets all like toxic masculinity, like he should play Doflamingo in
Oh my god, he
One
it's
Piece.
perfect how well he would look as Doffy. It's
Yeah.
insane. And it's insane because his voice will be perfect for it too. It really is. It's perfect. It's perfect for Doffy. It is insane how just like I
Like
don't know, it'll be
literally,
like
like
season 7 or 8. We'll be like, look, it's Ryan Gosling, and we're like, fuck, it's season 7 or 8 of live action One Piece.
yeah,
It's been like 12 years, guys.
we finally
Um,
got to it.
yeah, we finally got I don't know how they're gonna do the whole thing. I'm like, if they get to the time jump, I'll be actually shocked. I'll be like, "They did it. They got to the time jump, guys," because that's gonna be like season 5. It's gonna take that long.
Yeah.
Um, but okay, so Barbie. I'll say right now, it's not my top 5 for the year. It's not. But it is highly entertaining. It's really good. Don't get me wrong, it's very entertaining. But, like, for everything it does, I don't think it, like, surpasses other movies that have come out this year that, like, just were, I think, all around better put together, I guess is what I'd say.
Yeah, that's fair. I think like some of the things that surprised me the most was like the attention to detail and thought they put into like little things that like I wouldn't have even thought of. Like, you know, when they said they're making a Barbie movie, it's like, oh, okay, they're gonna have everyone named Barbie and Ken and stuff like that, and they're just gonna walk around and just whatever. But they even talked about like, oh yeah, no, when you're playing with your Barbie dolls, you don't like have them like you don't mime them walking out of their dollhouse. You know have them hop from the top to the bottom
Yeah,
or whatever.
you literally pick them up and put them down.
Yeah, and
That's
so they even did that.
yeah,
Where it's like that's how Barbie gets out of her house every day. She just like floats down to the
until
ground.
she
Like
does just
yeah,
fucking
and
falls.
it's just like and like even later on when the Barbieville gets like you know fucked up and there's like that one broken tree and the inside is all like pink plastic like because it's a fake tree like it it was a lot of little touches like that that I thought you know even as someone who like had zero interest in Barbie dolls as a kid or whatever like I still got a lot of like oh well, that's really interesting like you know stuff like that.
Yeah. No, in terms of just using every single old Barbie thing and all this stuff from Mattel, like, they did an incredible job. I think
Yeah.
where the film fell short was in its characters, primarily
Mm,
the human ones, just because they don't really I kept thinking there was gonna be more and nothing more was happening with the mother and daughter, I think, because they really pitched them as, like, they're only second to Barbie in this story,
I
and
guess yeah.
there's such a big gap between them, though, in terms of their importance, that I'm like, "Oh, right, they're here." Like, I literally was like, I really don't know what the point of them is for a lot of it,
Well, they were
like
basically
Margot
like
Robbie.
the instigating reason for why Barbie had to leave Barbie Land
Oh, no,
was
yeah.
like someone was playing with a Barbie that was her or whatever and was like her having like a bad emotional state or something like that and that's why her like bad emotions were seeping into Barbie and she was like thinking about death and shit like that.
I think it was just I
So,
was expecting it to be deeper for those characters, but
okay.
they don't really do that.
I
But I
mean, they
also
just had like
understand
the
it's because it's still the movie's about Barbie, whereas, like,
that's fair.
as a actual movie that I can say could be well related to it, I forget what the movie's called, but it has, like didn't have Tyra Banks in it. The doll comes to life and becomes like the friend of the girl, and she's like, "Holy shit, my doll became a person." And it's still like primarily about this
That does
girl.
sound familiar, yeah.
Let me look it up because I know exact people
So
probably know what I'm talking about if they
it
yeah, go
so
for
it
it.
doesn't have anything to do with the story or anything, but one of the theories I've heard from my coworkers was that the friend clique that the daughter had at school that like totally bitched out Barbie when she first showed up, they might have actually been a reference to the Bratz dolls, which makes a lot of sense, like why they were so like bratty. But also I was like,
Oh,
but I
interesting.
was also like, oh well, they're also teenagers. The teenagers are generally bratty. So, eh. I did love that scene though, because it ends with like them calling Barbie like a fascist icon essentially, and she just like goes off and crying like she thinks I'm a fascist.
It was so you're just like, "What's happening
Uh,
right now?"
uh,
Maybe it wasn't Tyra Banks. Wait, who the hell was the
uh.
model?
Nah, I mean like the mom did have probably one of the most significant moments in the movie though, where she just has to explain like basically the stresses of what it's like to be a woman in the modern world and how like you basically have to walk this fine tightrope of like standing up for yourself but not too much and like trying to dress so people notice you but not too much because like then you might be slutty or whatever and like it seems like no one's ever satisfied and nothing's ever good enough and I think like a lot of people can relate to that nowadays, which is why I also thought it was nice that like Ken had excuse me, Ken had like kind of a similar side story where like all the Kens in Barbie Land up until Barbie has to leave are basically the second class citizens of that world because it's like the only one that matters is Barbie and Ken is just an accessory. And then Ken gets to go to the real world and he finds out like, wait a minute, the men here are the ones that are in charge. This is awesome. And he like, but like I like that later on he had like a moment with Barbie where he's just like, I just wanted to be important. I just wanted to matter because like you never like include me, like you never like I never matter to you. It's always like what am I without you? And she just is like, well, maybe you got to figure that out. And it's like that's actually a really important thing that a lot of people should probably like try to do in life is figure out like who you are by yourself
Yeah,
because it's like really unhealthy to try to like make yourself happy by attaching yourself to someone else, like that generally never works out well.
yeah. And it's also like the whole thing of like, they're all in this place that was created it was predestined for all of them to be what they were
Yeah,
being. So like they have to like get out of those like stereotypes, I guess is the word to
yeah.
say for it. Whether it being
I just
like
thought it was really interesting that like both the Kens had like a thing where it's like they have to live up to these expectations that they hate, and also women in the real world also have to deal with that. So it's like it was interesting that like it was a cool way of being like everyone can relate to each other on the same levels. It's just like you have to see that, I
I don't
guess.
actually care about men in charge. I just wanted this about the
Yeah,
horses.
yeah. I thought that horses were just men extenders.
Dude,
Uh,
that was the best thing, that was the horses, I swear. Well, Ken was also the I it okay. All right, one, I found it. For some reason, it's not on either of their filmographies. I don't know why, but it's true. I found it. It is life size, starring Lindsay Lohan and Tyra Banks, where Tyra Banks
oh,
is Lindsay Lohan's doll and she comes to life, and Lindsay Lohan's like, "What the fuck?"
the
And it's the whole thing because I think like she's a single parent, like her dad's just a single dad, and it's like this whole thing of them figuring everything out, but the doll's there. So the focus is on Lindsay's character as the daughter, and everyone else is kind of more or less surrounding her, but they're all having stuff happen as well. Where I think it's a much more equal ground, and I think it's like a Disney Channel original movie or something. Whereas Barbie, I think it's weird comparing this to a fucking Disney Channel original movie. Um,
I mean, it's similar. The
it
doll
is.
comes to
It has
life,
a bigger
sorta.
message easily because of what it does preach, and it does a good job when they do go through the speeches for it. I was very just like, but like, in terms of I think the development of the side characters that weren't Barbie or Ken, I don't think it did as good of a job in terms of, like, really having them be fleshed out and be out there. Like,
Yeah,
it was
like,
just kind of like they were just there, and you're like, "Okay." And then they'll say things sometimes, but there was no it didn't feel like it was gonna be deeper, I guess, you know? Like I
yeah,
said.
like, the only one that I can think of from Barbie Land that had, like, a real character besides, like, Ken the like, prime Ken and Barbie or whatever you wanna call them is just, like, weird Barbie because she just, like, stood
Oh,
out,
yeah, that was pretty good.
and Alan because he's, like, the only Alan. It's
Yes.
just like he has no idea why he's the only one.
I I think I wasn't ready for how this movie was gonna be when because I was caught off guard completely when, because, they're like, "Hey, Alan," and he's like, "Hey," and then it's like just there and the narrator's like, "Yeah, there's just one Alan," and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't need this I don't see the point that you need to, like, point that at or anything like that. That's not necessary." And it helps
Well,
because
and,
it's
like,
Michael Cera, but the
even
thing for me go yeah, sure.
like, like, that's another thing they did where they later on, they show off, like, the bunch of, like, random Barbies, like, grow up Skipper or whatever, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, if you, like, pump her arm up and down, her boobs grow," and the daughter's just like, why would they do that? Why would they make that?"
Oh my god, those the yeah, but,
Like,
um,
pregnant Marge or whatever, and it's
yeah.
just like, "Oh, I thought we discontinued her. Gosh, she scared the shit out of me."
But, like, I did wanna get to that, but before that, when Ryan Gosling goes to surf and he, like, hits the
Yeah.
plastic waves and just, like, flies through the air and just crashes, and everyone freaks out, and Alan just, like, screams like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Just his sheer just despair. I wasn't ready for that, so I'm, like, dying in the theater, and I'm like, "Yo, what is this what, like, we're gonna get more of this?" And it's like, "Oh, you're gonna get more of this," and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is insane." Because I wasn't sure how Ken was gonna be, like, there was small stuff getting leaked online where it's like Ken's quote unquote "the villain" sort of, and I'm like, "Ken's the villain? How does that even work?"
I
And
mean,
then
like, sorta, but
he's also a
not
victim.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, everyone's more or less everyone's a victim in the most part because
Yeah.
everyone's a victim of the system.
That's really the
That's
moral of the
the
story.
system is the villain. That is the main thing. And once you break through the system, you can be who you can be, basically.
Yeah. Now that this movie got me from the get-go when they were talking about how, like, yeah, Barbie was invented in this year or whatever, and it taught all the little girls how, like, that they could be whatever they wanna be, and it solved sexism, and I'm like,
I can't wait to
"Sure."
see I can't wait to get there and see how we solved everything for them. And it's
Yeah.
like, "You didn't do shit." And you're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god." Like, I wasn't ready. No. But dude, one I'll just say this, and I have to like go through all my films and top things again. I do really want this in my top movies. It's just in terms of quality, it's hard to put it in there next to certain other movies, but like it's so good. Like I want to buy this movie
Yeah.
too. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna probably buy this movie,
So
and
I'm, like,
I want that Kinoff sweater. It's
I am
so ugly,
legitimately
but I love it. It's
considering
so
dressing as,
dope.
like, that Ken for Halloween because it's like, it wouldn't be too
Oh,
bad.
the Ken outfit, dude, it was weird coming out of that movie because it's like the whole thing is like, yo, all right, there's so many
Just
things
get
I
a bunch
want
of
to say.
watches.
No, there's so many different like avenues I want to talk about. But I guess one example is when we went to Alamo to see something. I think it was when to see Tenet, and Barbie was just about to come out or just came out. And we're going through in their gift shop. Usually Alamo is a really dope gift shop. It has stuff from like Mondo and everything else.
Yeah.
When we went through, it
They just
was
had a bunch
just
of
Barbie
Barbies.
dolls. And I'm like, what the like we're this theater mainly has adults. Like, you don't have enough kids to sell these Barbie dolls. And I'm like, do they really think? And I think about it and I'm like, yo, both women and men are gonna come out of this with major FOMO and just want to buy a Barbie doll just to buy it and
I
probably
could see
not even
that.
throw it somewhere and never pick it up again. But
Make your own weird Barbie.
they're gonna have that instant capitalism need to grab and buy because I just watched this. I'm getting that nostalgia. I'm getting that FOMO. I need to buy that. And I'm like, that's so smart. Holy crap. It's gonna work. I bet it probably did.
Yeah.
Like it was insane. I'm like, because I mean, after it, I was like, I don't. I mean, I didn't want to be like, I'm gonna go buy a Barbie doll and stuff. I was that.
Yeah.
I had two older sisters. When I was a little kid, I like took off. I forget why. I remember messing with the dolls, to take out their clothes, and they're like, "Why do you take out the clothes?" I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I would have considered it if they had actually released some of the, like, random ones that they showed off throughout the movie whenever something, like, weird was happening, like, in Barbie Land, and it's just like, "Here's Ken with his, like, fur coat and everything." It's just like, if they actually turned it into a real doll, like, with because it's just
Okay,
anything
if
that
they do
happens in
that Ken,
Barbie
I will
Land
buy that
happens.
Ken. I will buy the Ken with like
Yeah,
the open shirt, fur coat type
yeah,
thing. But I will say, like, to what you were saying before, like utilizing in such a good way the discontinued dolls was so genius. And the Will Ferrell reaction to just, I thought we discontinued her,
yeah.
was so golden. And the fact that even Will Ferrell, who's like the CEO, the Mattel CEO, and
He's just like,
he's
"I don't
like,
wanna be in charge, I hate it. It's so stressful."
he hates all of it, but also he's not like this dude you're thinking is like super sexist. He's literally like, we have to stop them. Why? Because it's upsetting the balance. That's why.
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing of it. And
We
when
can't let it
they
interrupt our business.
yeah, and when he goes and like they get there and they're like listening to the whole thing, they're like, "Oh my god, this is so nice" and stuff. And then they're like, "Oh, you met the it's like, "Yeah, I saw the original creator of Barbie." It's like, "Oh, yeah, that's a ghost. She's on
Yeah,
the
she just lives on
whatever
the 15th
floor.
floor, don't worry about it. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's a ghost." And I'm like,
"What?"
what is happening right now?" It's so insane the way
Uh,
everything goes. But yeah, like, and then like the weird dudes that are like, I think there were Kens or there were other dolls of like those weird looking guys, besides Alan. But also the fact that Alan knows karate was also hilarious.
yeah.
Um, because I remember one of my friends, she saw it before me, and I'm like, because I'm thinking, because this is a very female heavy movie, and I'm like, "Yo, who's your favorite character?" And she's like, "Alan." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Who's Alan?" And she's like, "You'll see." And I'm like, "Okay." And I watched it. I'm like, "Fucking Alan, you guys!" But it was a thing, and I don't know if it says like what kind of person I am. I really don't know, but maybe it's just because I loved him. But I'm like, it's like, "Yo, who's your favorite character?" I'm like, "Dude, Ken." I loved Ken. Ken was the best character in that film. Like,
Yeah,
it's
like,
just
Ryan Gosling looked like he was having so much fun being, like, an absolute idiot.
and just he's so happy, smiling every time they get arrested, and his
Yeah.
outfits, he's just he's like, "Hey, Barbie," and he's like, "Hey, Ken," and he's just every moment with him, I'm just like, I love. I've said it before. I'm like before this. I'm like Ryan Gosling is one of my top favorite actors. Like I love this guy. He's great, and usually anything you put him into, whether it's driving, he's like, "Hey, kid, want a toothpick?" Or like freaking what is it? Good Guys with him and Russell Crowe, and he's like getting his arm broken in the bathroom. He's like, "No,
Yeah.
wait, no, no, no!" It's like everything he does is just splendid. And watching him in this, being Ken, and changing his outfits nonstop and loving horses and
Yeah.
horses is so stupid, but I was like, "Horses are kinda cool." But, like, I mean, if it was me, I'd just be like, "Yo, tigers and gators, man." But, like, I legitimately wanna cosplay Ken. I wanna do the when he's the Ken Civil War. The
Oh
outfit he
god,
has with,
yeah.
like, the black open shirt. Dude, it's so good. It's so freaking good that out it's so perfect. I'm like, "Dude, this is great. This is so." I want it. It's horrible, but it's great. It's perfect. It is everything I'd ever want. It's
I
so
think, like, the
stupid.
only like, I mean, the casting for this entire movie was great, but it's just, like, Kristen Wiig as Weird Barbie was so perfect too. Just for the moment where, like, the mom shows up, it's like, "Hey, I had a Weird Barbie too." He's like, "Yeah, you did."
It's yeah, it was like, this was probably her. She probably
Yeah.
did this to her. And I love that, like, she's like, "I don't wanna be like you, no offense," and she's just
Yeah.
like,
It's like,
"No,
"Kinda take it."
no, it's fine." But Margot Robbie herself did a great job. She
Oh, phenomenal.
just being, like, having to be plain for half of the movie of just, like, being I guess you'd say generic, which the whole thing with her is,
Well,
like,
that's yeah,
I don't
she's
wanna be
literally just,
generic.
like, basic Barbie or whatever
Yeah.
they called her.
And it was just fun to sing that, and I thought it was so stupid. You're like, "Are you ready for this?" "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, she got her first job? Alright, it's your gynecologist appointment,
Yeah,
open
that was
wide."
so
And I'm
fucking
like,
funny.
"Ugh."
I was just like, Oh yeah, if she is human now, I guess that would be something she'd have to think
Yeah, you gotta
about.
go check that out, huh? It's
Uh,
like, make sure everything's working and healthy down there. But dude, that was oh my god, that was so funny. Um,
it's
that
like, yeah, what a line for to end the movie on.
you don't expect it. You're just like, "Huh? What do you mean?"
Uh,
But I don't know, it's like there's not as much to say about this movie as like Oppenheimer, but you
yeah, I mean,
know,
it's
you
not
get the
like
mood that you get from it, and it just works.
yeah, like it's not as existentially deep as like, humanity is hardwired to potentially destroy itself, but it's still got like surprisingly deep moments. Like everyone nowadays just kind of feels trapped by like the the demands of society and like no one is happy and everyone wants to be someone else and stuff like that.
And having
Like,
like, what would you like predetermined routes or like predetermined
yeah,
lives they have to live.
like like do you live by the things that are expected of you, or do you try to break out and do the things that you would enjoy doing, you
Yeah.
know?
So, Oppenheimer has like the more, I guess, like bigger picture of
It's definitely got more gravitas to it for
it
sure.
has the, humanity needs to not want to destroy itself. And Barbie's like, be better to each other and
Yeah,
also
and to yourself.
choose, yeah, be better to yourself and be who you want to be. As well as, just don't be don't be
Just don't be a
toxic.
dick.
Yeah, don't be a piece of shit.
Yeah,
Just you can be enough. Be enough for yourself.
yeah.
I can't would I be bad if I actually got that hoodie?
Oh, I want that
It's
hoodie
on
so
until
bad. It looks great. It's like
it's
rainbow.
great.
It looks soft.
It looks so soft, and it's like
Uh,
it's a thing where I feel like all this Ken stuff that, like, now guys wanna wear, that's another, like, boundary breaker, it's like guys
yeah,
don't associate with pink and all this stuff, and you're just like, "I'm gonna go wear this, like, fluffy whatever," and be like, "Ooh, it's nice," like,
yeah.
imagine walking
Like
into work with that on, and you're just like, "Yeah, that's right, I did it.
I
It's
just
fine."
love that it like just the screenshots of Barbie and Ken's like mugshots became such a meme, and it's like still a thing of just like Barbie being all worried and Ken's like having so much fun. Uh
And the cops are being like, "Oh, whatever, something so," they're being like also just like literal pigs like talking to her the way they're like looking at her and stuff or something. I forget what it
yeah.
was. Yeah.
Oh
But
yeah, I forget what they said, but they literally said something that made me go like, uh.
yeah. It's but the
uh
guy that literally smacked her ass should have been also arrested for
Dude, yeah. Well, I love her like immediate gut reaction is just whip around and punch him in the
that was
face,
great.
and Ken's
Ken
reaction is just scream.
so good. Oh
uh
my god. It
it's
dude,
so good.
perfection. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
God, like
I
that's
got
such
I
a
really do talking about it now, I'm like, I gotta reassess my top five order. Maybe this movie should be
yeah.
in my top five. I actually
No,
should.
that like that's the thing is like it
It's
was
hard
such
because
a
we have this is okay, sorry. This is the year we have Spider-Man animated movie, we have TMNT animated movie, we have the Super Mario animated movie, we have Creed 3, we have Oppenheimer,
yeah.
like, there's so much
It's
other
been a good year so
yeah,
far.
like, let me look at my top 5 lists that I had already, because that'll kinda tell me what
But
was
yeah, it
going
was
on.
I'm so glad that these two movies came out at the same time and like
Um,
it became such a cultural phenomenon to do like to watch like a double feature of them because it's like they're both tonally so different that it's like like I enjoyed them both so much, and it was probably a good idea that we like ended with Barbie because we kind of we're like that was so fun, it was great, and we didn't end with like fuck humanity is terrible.
yeah, don't do the other way. Don't start with Barbie and go to
Uh,
Oppenheimer. That's like pain. That's like basically saying I'm shoving the shit back up my ass.
uh,
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm sticking with that. I'm gonna die on that hill. But actually, all those movies I named aren't even my top 5. They couldn't even make it into my top 5 except for Spider-Man. Barely made it. Spider-Man's at number 5 right now for me.
are
S
you holding out for Dune 2? I'm kidding. That doesn't even come out till next year.
I don't even
I know you don't give a shit.
I don't give a fuck about that movie.
Uh,
No, but,
but
yeah,
Timothy
I
Chalamet,
wanna
he's
watch a
gonna.
bunch more fake sand that was so expensive to make. I'm so glad you guys made your fake sand. But no, Evil Dead Rise, John Wick Chapter 4, Suzumi, like, one of them's an anime movie, and it was actually phenomenal. I don't know why, I just loved it. I was like, this is amazing." And it's like, "Why?" I'm like, I don't know."
Eh,
It's so good. Like, dude, I couldn't put Super Mario on there. I couldn't put TMNT on there. I had to take off
yeah, like
Creed 3. I couldn't put on Fast X. Like, it's like, I wanna put Barbie on, but it's like, as
yeah,
iconic as Barbie is, it's like, does it get to Evil Dead Rise and John Wick 4, does it pass?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't for me, I don't think. But does it pass Spider-Verse? I'm like, I don't know, does it pass Spider-Verse? That's a tough one.
Yeah, man.
This
That's
is
so
a
sad
this
because
is
it's
a
like it's
rough
such a
year.
good like Barbie's such a good movie, but yeah, like those other movies, there's like I mean the Mario movie I liked, but I don't think I'd put it in my top 5. It was
Yeah,
just it was fun, but not amazing.
yeah, so there you go. Actually,
Yeah.
maybe instead of Spider-Man 2, we save that for side play and just do our final episode as our top 5s of the year or something. I don't even know that we
Yeah,
could
that
just, like, do
works.
that,
We could do
actually.
that.
Yeah. And then side plays like, "We did Spider-Man 2." Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that works. That works a lot better now I think about it. There you go. We'll talk about the games in there before we actually talk about the full games in there. It'll be hilarious. But yeah, I think that's everything, and I'm kind of glad I didn't want us to go too. I'm glad we only got what we got into this
Yeah.
conversation
Not
because
bad.
otherwise it would be very long and insane. And we actually made a very good time in this, including like the intro and stuff.
Since even the intro was like 20 minutes long, so we actually made pretty good time.
Yeah.
Because we covered like 2 of the biggest movies of the year in one episode.
Pretty much, yeah. Two of the highest grossing movies. It's insane. You know what's funny is one last thing is the whole thing of Nolan leaving WB and going to Universal for this movie, and then he has to compete against the other WB movie, and it's just Barbie, and he's like, "Wait, what?" And
Yeah.
and Barbie probably outgrossed Oppenheimer by a
I think
lot.
it did.
Yeah,
I don't know.
so
I'd have
it's
to
just
look it
kind of.
up.
I mean, they both were amazing in their own ways, and it's like
I
hard.
could
Like,
see why Barbie would make more money because it's like literally a much shorter movie, and I could see people being more willing to see that multiple times. Whereas Oppenheimer's like that's a commitment. That's like half your day right there.
yeah.
Unless you see it
So
at 8 in the morning, like we did.
just watch it at
Ugh.
8:15 next to a guy that takes out his phone and shaking his leg like he has to piss
I was
himself.
also joking that like the person next to me like reeked of cigarettes. So the entire movie, when everyone's smoking, I'm like, it's like smell-o-vision. uh,
Fantastic. But
uh,
I think that's everything. Next time I guess we'll do Witcher next, or do we want to do Witcher or Ahsoka?
I want to say Witcher just so I'm more
Because it
actually
also came out
motivated to watch
sooner.
that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we'll do Ahsoka after, and then I guess yeah, top 5, whatever. But like we said, if we can this month, we'll try to do The Witcher. Um, at
yeah,
the latest it'll be in like the first half of November, probably. At the soonest it'll be like October, like between October 17th through like October 22nd or something. It'll be around that area. So we'll see what happens.
yeah,
Otherwise, thank you for coming back to hear us when we have been gone for so long. And like we
yeah,
said, whole plan, show ends at 200, but the plan is to have 3 new shows at the start of 2024: Sutro Side Watch for film and television, Sutro Side Play for games, and the Cut of Steel for DC content, which already we have episodes lined up to record because they're. I mean, I'm not sure when, but it's basically all those DCU movies we still haven't even talked about yet. Like our first episode that'll be new that we'll do that won't be like one of the ones we're re-releasing will probably be like Birds of Prey, I think. Um, and we'll like get to where we are now with like Blue Beetle, or probably I guess we'll get to where we are with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and stuff.
I keep forgetting that's not even out yet.
Yeah. Which for those that don't know, Blue Beetle actually really good. I
Yeah, not
liked it a
bad. I
lot.
liked it.
It's pretty enjoyable. If you didn't get to see it, if it's still in theaters, go see it if you can. It is actually worth watching, especially if you are of Hispanic descent or Latino, Latin, like basically Latino background and stuff. Um, it is incredibly better than I expected. It's
Yeah,
not amazing, but it's a very enjoyable time that I was not expecting compared to like, seeing The Flash. And I still I haven't seen Shazam 2 yet. I still haven't watched Fury of the Gods. I just haven't done it. But yeah, next episode, Witcher. We'll talk about 3 different Witcher things. Witcher 3 will probably be our longest conversation because we're going to talk about Henry Cavill and all this stuff about that, and if we're even going to bother watching Witcher 4 and stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us again. And hopefully, if we do a Patreon, you guys may want to fork up a little bit of money. It's not that much, but
yeah.
we'll see what happens. Until next time, guys. So long.
Thanks for listening.